Hey guys, welcome to the Powerful Man Show, where we help married businessmen save their marriages without having to talk about it, get unstuck, and gain clarity in their lives. As I like to say, life is too short for average. I'm your host, Doug Holt, with my co host, Tim, the Powerful Man Matthews. Now let's get this started. Hey guys, welcome back to another show. And once again, joined with me is the amazing Ryan Peach. Ryan, great to have you back, brother.
Man, it's so good to be here. Thanks for having me on, brother.
Yeah, absolutely. So, for those that don't know, and you guys should go back and listen to some other episodes that Ryan has been on, but Ryan has been a graduate of the Activation Method, which is our flagship program. He went to the Alpha Reset, joined the Brotherhood, and then left a flourishing career to come aboard the movement we call the Powerful Man because he wanted to help other men like you guys listening to this right now. So Ryan is actually one of the lead advisors. So if you were to decide like, hey, look, I just want to book a call and decide if this is the right fit for me, Ryan is the type of man that you get a chance to talk to. And he was there as an advisor just to guide you, to say, hey, here's some insights. This program is for you. It's not for you. It might be for you. But really what his job is and his calling is just to help men get their footing. Because as we say, for some of us guys, it's not easy topics to talk about. So a guy like Ryan is there to guide you along the way, as someone did for him many years ago. So is that a fair assessment there, man?
Yeah, man, I think you nailed it. It's just such an honor to be able to kind of turn around and help the next guy behind me. And like you said, just point him in the right direction. I talked to a guy earlier today and got through our conversations like, listen, this isn't the next right step for you. Like here's where to go. Here's what you need to do. What I love about that is when the guy is the right fit. Oh, like that's like it's just you get so excited to watch their journey because you know that they're in the right place. And as long as they dig in and do the work, like it's gonna be amazing.
That is amazing. Well, let's talk about that a little bit, Ryan, because you have the opportunity. It's very unique. So, gentlemen, you listening to this right now, you know your situation, and probably not very many other people do, right? Because us guys, we just don't talk about it. But Ryan, you
Yep.
get to talk to literally thousands of men around the world, business owners. Most of them, I'm going to guess, have kids going
Yep.
through it. I'm going to guess most of these men, A, they feel alone, like B, they feel like nobody else has this problem that they're going through. Give me some
Yep.
of the common scenarios that you're seeing and obstacles that are facing these men from getting what they want.
Yeah. I think you nailed it. When you feel alone, oftentimes it's easier to sit in that and just commiserate or stick your head back in the sand and just continue doing what you're doing rather than face the music. So I see that a lot. I think for a lot of guys, what I see is uh, I very, very rarely find a lazy man, the guy
Mm.
that's not doing anything. Like it's usually quite the opposite. I find guys that have been doing the podcasts and the books and the counseling and they're also working 50, 60, 70, 80 hours a week trying to provide the life that they told their wife that they were going to provide them. And a lot of these guys then find themselves strung out, exhausted, overweight, frustrated, all with hoping on the other side they're going to see this amazing connection with their wife who's just going to love and value them and give them everything that they need. And yet it's the opposite. Their wives are either one, angry at them all the time, and no matter what they do, it's never enough, or two, the wife is just completely disconnected and not talking to them at all. And so I see that so that's probably the most common thing that I see is just men working, for lack of a phrase, working their asses off, but it's just not getting them the results that they want in their marriage.
We all know this, like as businessmen, it's not the amount of time you spend in front of your computer, right? It's the efficiency with the work that you do.
Yep.
As a guy who's ran a lot of companies myself, I'll often tell people when they ask, like, okay, what are my hours? And like, look, yes, I want you to work hours, but really what I want is results. Like, results
Yep.
is what, as an owner of a company, I'm looking for results, not excuses. And it's interesting for us men as guys when we're in our own, the thick of it, if you will. And I've been in it, Ryan. I'm guessing you've been in the thick of it too. You've shared your story. Guys, if
Yep.
you'd like to see an amazing story, go over to thepowerfulman.com/results. and you will see Mr. Peach right here, where he shares his story of his journey. And it is an amazing story, guys. It'll get you to understanding of Ryan and what he's been through and what he's overcome over the years. And neither of us have perfect marriages or perfect lives, and we never pretend that's the case.
No.
But I'm curious because you shared something I thought was really interesting with me before we hit the record button. We just started catching up a little bit, and you made a comment how there's some guys that will just luckily get onto a call with you. Walk me through that scenario from what you're hearing versus the reality of that.
Yeah, I'll get on the phone with a guy, and quite often I'll hear, "Oh, I just happened to stumble across you on Facebook or on TikTok and Instagram, and I just, I clicked this thing and it looked cool, so I thought I was just gonna check out and see what you're doing." And what always goes off for me is two things. One is that's not true. Like, you clicked on that for a reason, and also you have to go through a process in order to be able to get to me, right? There's videos, like, we want to make sure, like we said in the beginning, we want to make sure that you're the right guy, that we can actually solve your problem, that like what we do speaks to you. And so there's steps in that process to make sure that we've got the right guys in the right place to be able to serve them well. And so it always comes back to two things for men, especially in this perspective, is it's either fear, right? I'm
Sure.
alone. No one's going to understand me. This is impossible. It's been going on for 10, 15, 20 years. What's the point? And it comes back to pride,
Yep.
right? I can do this myself. I'm self-made. I'm doing all these other things. It's just going to take a little bit more time, and I just want to get a little bit, I want to get the help that I want to get from this person and that person, and I don't really want to be pushed or pulled in a direction. Um and so they tend to come on with this false sense of either disassociation or confidence, because honestly, as guys, we're taught not to be vulnerable. We're
Yeah.
taught to rub dirt in it, be quiet, do it alone. And asking for help, or even worse, admitting that we don't know what we need to do, it sucks.
Oh yeah, it absolutely does. So when these guys, so you get on the phone call with the guy, and the guy's like, yeah, yeah, I just I clicked on the ad." In the back of your mind, you know, hey, look. So guys that have never clicked on an ad or gone to our website, because we have a lot of guys, Ryan, as you're aware, that will come to our website. Sometimes it's on referral from a man who's been through the program.
Yeah.
And in order to do so, what we have, guys, is essentially an application process, right? So guys like Ryan, who are committed, have made their legacy to help other men, are really busy. And so Ryan would be on a phone call 24/7 if that was the availability. And unfortunately, Ryan lives the lifestyle we teach. Fortunately, he does. And he's got a wife, kids, he's got a lifestyle. As you can see, if you're watching this on video, over his right shoulder, he surfs and he's taken up all kinds of hobbies and things that allow him to live this lifestyle. So there's only a finite amount of time that Ryan can actually get on a phone to help a man, as it is for all of us. One of the reasons we do this podcast is we can't help everybody. So we're doing these for free. Of course,
Yep.
yes, it can bring us more men to help, but really it's to really proliferate the message and help more men out there. Doing that. So you hear this guy, he's filled out an application. He's
Yeah.
watched a video, unfortunately for him, of me, right, going through it. So it's a video that's just explaining what it is. So it's nothing,
Yep.
amazing, guys. I'm not going to lie about that. It's just explaining what it is and how we as men get there. And then he's probably gotten onto because he's picked a time to get onto your calendar that works for him and works for you. So he's done all these
Yep.
steps, right? As men, as
Yep.
businessmen, we know that these steps, that means he's committed. Like
Yeah.
he's got something going on. He knows what this is about. So what do you think is going on through his head when he addresses you with that question?
Yeah. It's One, it's their BS meter is up, right? Like,
Oh, sure.
is this for real, right? Like again, if I am going to open up, if I am going to share, I don't want to be messed around with. Um, and I think two is they want to know if we really care, right? They want to
Mm,
know that, like, there is a real pathway here. It's not just some dudes in a basement sitting around talking about their problems. Like, is there a pathway forward? And that's what I love about what I get to do, right? Because it comes from a place of pure service of like, I just want to understand you and where you're at. And I want you to understand where we are and what we do. And if those things come together, then that's great. Let's talk next steps. And if not, I'm going to point you in the right direction. And our whole team does. That's what I love about our team is like every morning we share wins, right? And so often it's like, I talked to John yesterday and it wasn't a good fit, but he was an amazing guy. And I sent him this direction. I told him to plug in here. And he's already, he texted me this morning and he said he's already getting so much from it. Like it's true service that we bring to those men. And so I think for guys, what tends to give them that trepidation is they've probably been burned before. They've tried counseling. Again, I think I've met maybe a handful of lazy men that just weren't doing anything in my 4 years of being here. And so it's we tried so much, I put in so much effort and it's only gotten worse. I don't want to open this up again because it makes me feel weak and less like a man when in the reality that's one of the strongest and most powerful things that he can do.
Yep. Yeah, that was a big mind change for me, Ryan. I grew up with two older brothers, very competitive athletes, grew up playing sports, played into my 30s. Guys don't cry. Guy punches you in the face on the field, you either get at it or you just shut up and you move on, or
Right.
so you get your feelings hurt. Okay,
Yep.
put your big boy pants on. Those kinds of comments. And what I realized for me is the bravest thing a man can do. Well, courage. I call it courage, right? What is courage? The definition of courage is being scared and doing it anyway. And the
Yep.
bravest thing you can do is expose yourself to be hurt emotionally, AKA being vulnerable, and do it anyway. That
Yeah.
takes massive balls. That takes courage to do that. And when you think about it, it's the scariest thing. That's why us guys don't do it. It's not just because we were not told to do it, but
Yep.
we're scared. What are they going to think of me? What happens if I show them that I'm hurt, or are they going to take advantage of me? And all of these stories come into our heads as men. And so it gets really interesting when we see guys go through this journey. I mean, that's the really cool thing about what I think we do is we have a methodology. It's not
Yes.
a theology or what have you. It's a methodology that applies to all men that we've worked with, regardless of race, religion, background, because we're using solid principles, scientific principles on human psychology and conditioning. It just happens to work really well for men because
Yes.
because we're guys and we're different. You look anywhere else in the animal world and they never delineate like males and females as one species. They always separate the species.
Yep.
But being as brilliant as we are as humans, we thought, no, humans are different. We're all the same.
That's right. Yep.
How's that working
Yeah.
out?
Yeah. Well, and it's what we the disservice that we did to men was is that we one of the disservice that we did to men was that we taught them that feelings made them weak and to seek help made you weak. And if you look throughout history, the smartest, strongest, bravest people, they had that close knit group of other men, like minded, going in their direction that were going to support them and hold them accountable. It is foundational to the success of the greatest men and greatest male movements. And so I think it's what we see again for the men that come to us is as they get in touch with that vulnerable part of themselves and allow themselves to really feel how they feel, out of that comes so much clarity, power, and strength. And a lot of the men on the front end of things, they use this sort of, again, I call it disassociation from like where they are and what they're doing here on the call with me, is because inside they actually feel really weak and powerless or uncertain or doubt, which makes total sense because if I did anything for 5 years, 10 years, 15 years and it only got worse, like you wouldn't do that with the gym, you wouldn't do that with your business, you wouldn't do that anywhere else in your life. You wouldn't put in all that effort and it get worse. but because of your relationship and you love this person and you're committed, because men, like when we commit, we commit. So
Yep.
like we are committed to this. We just feel like a failure. And then we weren't ever taught what to do when we felt that. We were taught to bury it, eat it, and just try harder.
Yeah, it's so true. It's interesting because this morning I went to a PT session because hurt, damaged my rotator cuff. The guy that I work with, the PT, is not only is he a doctorate of physical therapy, but he's a guy's guy to the extreme. You know, he works out, runs a
Yep.
gym, like a man's man. And so I
Yep.
went in there, and you feel weak as a guy, right? You're like, oh, I'm out of shape because I haven't been able to work out because of this injury, and da, 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 and here's this guy, and he knows who I am. I know who he is, and we just start talking. He's like, Doug, what's going on? I go, man, I am so friggin' stressed out right now. And he's like, why? And I started talking to him about it, and he just completely opened up to me. Right.
Mm,
So in the past, what I'll call Doug 1.0, I wouldn't have brought up any of that. How's it going?
yeah.
Awesome, man. Things are great. Crushing it, crushing life. Let's just work on this the one thing back here, right? Talk about you,
Yep.
not me. I'll make you feel like we're going deep, but I won't let you inch in, right? All guys do that, by the way. You're not the only guy
Yep.
out there if you're
That's
thinking,
right.
wow. Um, but when I because me knowing what I know now and working with thousands of men, I know what the truth is I just opened up and just told him what was really going on. And me being authentic and taking that first step allowed him to all of a sudden share things that were going on for him, right? It
Yeah.
created a safer space for him. So, guys, it's that taking that leadership role, whether you're calling up and talking to Ryan or anybody else, you take that leadership role of moving first. And for a lot of men, at least for me, Ryan, in my marriage, I neglected that leadership role because I thought it was the right thing to be the nice guy. I thought,
Yes.
okay, I'm being too aggressive or too assertive in my marriage. I'm going to bite my lip. I'm going to take out the trash more. I'm going to wash the car. I'm going to fix my wife's car. I'm going to do all these manly things, which she could have given two shits about. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, sure, it's nice for her to have the house clean, but we could afford a cleaner. So, what she was looking for me would take leadership, and leadership is about taking action. And a lot of times
Yeah.
it's about being the first mover. Who's going to be the first
Yes.
one to move forward, like I did in the PT session. And so I'm always learning when I see guys like you, Ryan, doing this in all areas of your life, whether it be you're taking your girls out surfing for your birthday. That was an amazing photo that you shared.
Yeah.
I'm like, man, I get to lead more with my kids. Thank you, Ryan.
Yeah.
In these
Yeah.
areas of our life as men, we get to do that.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, like I mean, we learned this as kids, right? Like the first step in any process is to identify the problem, right? And in this, it becomes so much deeper when you can sit there and be like, I'm hurting. The problem is, I'm hurting and I feel like a failure. And I feel like I have not only failed myself, but I failed my wife. I'm failing my employees and I'm failing my kids. And I don't know what to do. Perfect. Now we have the actual problem, right? Now we can grow because, like, I will leave calls every once in a while with a guy that has just stonewalled me out, right? Like, he just does not let me in. And I get to the end of the call and I'm like, I don't think I helped that guy at all. Like, I tried to give him direction, but I didn't get to know him at all. I don't have a clue what's really going on. Like, this has been going on for 5 years, but he seems fine. He says he runs marathons. His business is successful. He would just like to have a little bit better of a relationship. But when he opens up and digs in, they've not had sex in 5 years. And, he's angry and yelling at his kids. But he won't go there. And so that's seeing a guy be able to be open. It is the strongest, most, like you said, most powerful thing to be able to say the truth, the real truth about where you're at, and to say, I can't do it on my own. Because when you do that, then, like, I always tell guys, like when I'm talking to a guy and we're thinking about jumping in and getting started, I'm like, listen, here's where you are, the reality of your life. You're at the edge of the cliff, right? You're at the edge of the cliff and you have two choices. You can turn around, walk back down the mountain, and continue to live the same life you've been living. And you know exactly what that looks like. You've been doing it for 5 years, 10 years, 15 years. Nothing's going to change. Or you can jump off the cliff. Now, you jump off the cliff, probably never done it before. It's scary as hell. You don't know what's going to happen, what's going to be like. But the cool thing about jumping off this cliff is when you do, there's 100 other dudes that jump off the cliff with you. And they're right there and they've been right there going through it with you. They can tell you on the way down how to pull the ripcord, how to guide, how to how to fly through this wind stream and have the best experience. I was like, so you're no longer alone. But the first step is that last one off the edge. You've got to make that one on your own. But I promise you, when you're off the ledge, there's a whole army of guys that come around you and you no longer feel alone. And I got to tell you, that is the coolest moment for me to see a guy do that. And then to get, a text message from him a week later of like, whoa, the trainings and the coach. And there's this guy that lives right down the road from me and had been in construction and, we're 20 minutes apart and didn't know. And he's been going through the same thing and we're meeting. It's amazing to see these guys realize that there's a completely different world that exists on the other side of that fear and doubt.
Yeah, no, it's so true. And knowing that there's thousands of men that have been before you and no one's gone splat, right? Like
Yeah, that's right.
everybody,
That's right.
100% of the people make it out, right? That's to the other side, which is really interesting. When I was hearing you talk, it brought up a flashback for me. In Santa Barbara, California, in my late 20s, I had a private personal training fitness studio. It's a newer thing. I'm not in my 20s anymore, so you guys can figure that out. Over 20 years ago, I had the studio and I had a guy that worked with me, very successful. One of those people that's just a sage, like a wise person. And you got to understand, this was a private training studio, so it wasn't inexpensive to come into. It was on the main street of Santa Barbara. So we charged a lot, but I like to say it was value driven. But anyway, this guy came into me and he said, what was really weird, Doug, is I was talking to a couple of my friends and they're like, why are you paying for personal training? You could just go to the gym and work out. And he said, I thought about that for a second. And then I realized two things. One, I've been coming here for 6 months and my body has completely changed. Two, those guys have been going to the gym for years and they haven't changed at all. So that was one. And he said, also, Doug, I don't do my own dentistry either. It's like, why would I read a book about dentistry and try to do it to myself when I could go to a professional and get it done right? I want
Yep.
results. And that's what I think about for a lot of us men. And that stuck with me, right? And that was one of those this guy was just using it as a passing comment, but he's one of those really wise men that you just kind of like, whoa, there's something really, really grounded there. And
Yeah.
I know when I was going through my woes, now, first of all, excuse for me, Powerful Man didn't exist at the time when I was going through my marriage problems, but I was listening to audiobooks, reading books, did multiple therapists, right, with my wife and things, and none of it worked, right? It was until you find a methodology that you can follow step by step that is going to get you out of it. You have to do the work, right? What you're really saying is, guys, we can't do the push-ups for you, right?
Yeah.
We can show you how to do a perfect push-up. We can show you exactly how to get the results that you want to get, but you actually have to get on the ground and do a push-up, or for my men over in the UK, a press-up. You have to do it yourself. And it's really what it comes down to. Like, you don't do your own dentistry. Unless you're an accountant, you probably don't do your taxes, but you're hoping you're a dentist and your accountant have enough experience, have done enough reps, and have a methodology or a system that they can walk through, because they're humans too, and you hope they don't screw up. Now, of course, just like cooking has a recipe, every once in a while as a chef, they have to make tweaks depending on what's going on. And everybody's an individual, and that's what we do. But at the end of the day, we have a proven recipe that's award-winning, right, so to speak.
Yep.
And we make tweaks as necessary depending on dietary restrictions, to use this analogy, but it still comes out like it's a perfect bake every time.
Yeah. Well, I think about with medicine, right? And dentistry, all of those things. The way they did it 20 years ago that was state of the art, well, it's not anymore.
Yep.
Right? And the best companies, people, they always innovate. Right? They don't throw the baby out with the bathwater, but they're like, okay, this was good. Let's take it to great. And I think something you said that just really spoke to me is asking any guy, like, okay, so when you started your business, you just did it all on your own, right? Like, didn't ask for help, didn't learn from a mentor for 10 years, didn't take over a company from a parent or a friend or a father. Like, you just white knuckled it, no experience, did it on your own. There's like 1% of 1% of 1% of people who have done that, right? Everybody else, they've got a mentor, right? When it comes to all these other parts of our life, we will seek people, and we don't just seek people who are professionals at it. We always want the person that's the professional that's been through it, right? Like we want somebody that's like, they didn't just learn it from a book and they're trying to recite to you what they know. Like the most powerful people in my life are the ones that were like, listen, I made this mistake and this mistake and this mistake and this mistake. And so we're going to skip to number 5 here. That's not the mistake. And we're just going to have you do that one. That was some of the best advice you ever gave me whenever I was still running my business, right? Like I had these all lofty ideas of what I needed to do and how I was going to, and all this stuff I had to do. And you were like, listen, all you need to do is this one thing. And I want you to do this one thing for 30 days. That's it. You just want to do one thing for 30 days. And I'll be damned if I didn't get more clients than I ever had by doing that one thing in 30 days. And it seemed simple and basic. And this is not, but you're like, but it is proven and it works. So just work what works. And that's what, we give men here is, the methodology. And then you've got a coach and a team around you that when you start to go off the rails, because you will, like you're gonna start to get off into the gravel and be on the rumble strips, like they're there to be like, no, let's get you back on the road rather than letting you just go off the cliff and blow everything up and mess it all up, which is what happens a lot with counseling or different things. Like they mean well, it's great, they're professionals, but you don't have that one-to-one everyday in the trenches support. So if you go see someone on Tuesday and there's a problem on Wednesday, well, you got to carry that problem with you Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, all the way until you meet again. And here you get so much support 24/7, always, to be able to keep you on those tracks for those hard moments. And you're getting it from guys that have been through it. They're not just making stuff up as they go, but they can really tell you from their experience what they lived and what they did.
Yeah. So many great things there, Ryan. That's why you're one of the top advisors we have is, guys, success leaves clues. Bottom line, success leaves clues. And at the Powerful Man, we are always innovating. After every group we run, we go back and say, hey, how could we have done this better? How can we get the guys results faster? How can we help them out more? Every single group, we've been doing this for a long time. So, you can imagine what it gets like as a polished machine, and we're still working on it. We're still working on the bumps and things of that nature. That's to be expected. So, gentlemen, I'm going to ask you, after listening to Ryan, where are you not stepping to the edge of the cliff and actually jumping off? Analogy that comes to mind, Ryan, that you hear a lot, guys, is you have one foot on the dock, one foot on the boat. And when the boat starts taking off, that gets really uncomfortable. So make a decision. Get on, get off, right? Take that step and take that leap. And to me, that comes down to leadership. And where are you not leading in your life? Are you not leading your kids? You're not leading your marriage, your relationship, or are you not leading yourself? Right? So many of us fall into that trap, especially as businessmen. We're out there sacrificing for other people, saving other people, yet we're not taking care of ourselves. So if you're interested in getting on a call with one of our advisors, or Ryan in particular, in fact, if you want to get on a call with Ryan, just go ahead and email vip@thepowerfulman.com and just mention Mr. Peach here, Ryan Peach. That's vip@thepowerfulman.com, or you can go to thepowerfulman.com. You can go hit start here and you get the opportunity to get on a call with Ryan. But if you want to speak to Ryan specifically, go ahead and shoot an email over and let him know that you want to speak to Ryan. Ryan is just an awesome guy to get to know, whether you join the movement or not. Guys, we can't have enough great men in our lives. And Ryan is certainly one in my life that is always affecting me and impacting me. So, gentlemen, have an amazing day. Ryan, thank you so much for all that you do for the movement, for me and my family, and for everybody else.
Cheers, brother. Thank you.
All right, guys, that's a wrap for this episode. But as I always say, in the moment of insight, take massive action. You see, there are two types of men that listen to a podcast like this. Those that go on from one podcast or show to another, just hoping things are going to change and realizing that they're going to be in the same place month after month, year after year. You see, I was this guy, so I completely get it. You may just not be ready. But there's also a second man that listens to a show just like this. And this is a guy who takes massive action so they can shorten the learning curve, compress time, and get results to be the wolf. See, wolf is an acronym for wise, open, loving, and fierce. Now, ask yourself, which one am I? And just be honest with yourself there. And there's no judgment on my end, but if you're ready to move from deactivated deer mode, which is defend, excuse, explain, react, to activated wolf, wise, open, loving, and fierce, then go over to thepowerfulman.com/grow and go there now. In fact, I'll make it super easy for you. I will even put the link right in the description here so you can just click it and go over there now to learn more. Guys, in the moment of insight, take massive action. Go from deactivated to activated, because like I said, life is too short for average. And I'll see you on the next episode.